All right, Eric Mashinsky, Gold Investment Letter, here today with one of our favorite portfolio companies, First Vanadium, that many of you own. This is an update. First, I'm getting on a lot of the color from the field and the results we have Paul Cowley, CEO, and Dave Mathewson, who's leading the drill program in Nevada. And essentially, this will be the first time I'm getting color from them post the news release we just saw, which sounded very heartening. And I thought it was a great time to get an update out. We'll probably leave this down to some level of, consolidated answers for now and not make it an hour long, but there's a lot more coming here and I wanted to get them on. So welcome, guys. And Paul, you can feel free to introduce and, you guys I can throw in questions, or you could just steer it when you feel appropriate after your comments to get Dave involved with these results and what you're seeing.
Excellent. All right. Eric, thanks again. This is great to have us on here to talk to your shareholder base, to your distribution base. We're really excited, as you know, not about the project and the timing of our project right now. We're very excited with the information that we just put out a couple of days ago. But basically, folks, we have a two system mineralized property. We've got this vanadium deposit at the surface, and underneath it is this gold system that basically Dave conceptualized, and we basically discovered this system, and that's really exciting. And I should mention that, and as an analog, or mentioning that we are in the Carlin Gold Trend, which obviously is one of the best places in the world to explore. But that sort of same stacked system of a vanadium deposit over a gold system is exactly what is at Gold Strike and Gold Quarry further up on the Carlin Trend. So that's an exciting comparison. We also have now done 7 holes into this gold system. I'm going to have Dave, of course, go into more detail, but I'll just sort of cue it up. We're hitting the right rocks. We're hitting the right alteration. We've got 7 holes into it, along a 1.5 kilometer or just shy of a mile long corridor in the right rocks, the same rocks that host the big deposits up along the Carlin Trend. We got all the alteration, brecciation, pathfinder metals, some gold. It's definitely, everything is there. And now we've also, with our IP, can see the root system to this thing relative to our drilling. Now we've got this anomaly is phenomenal, and it's growing. We haven't finished our IP survey. This is an obvious new roadmap for us, and you can see from our press release how close we did come without this information. How close we did come for it to the system. But every one of those holes was meaningful for us and gives us a great position to move forward. So Dave, I might just ask you to comment on the quality of the system, the meaningfulness of it, the anomaly itself. Dave, please take it from here.
Okay, well, good day to everyone. Well, we started off earlier, last year, hole number 1, which was in the truest sense a scout hole. There are indeed 2 different systems, but these 2 different systems, time-wise, are very, very far apart from each other. The vanadium system developed, now there's probably a commonality with respect to the suture, the big suture that fed in the metals for both systems, but they happened time-wise a couple 100 million years apart from each other, literally. Now the upper system, the vanadium, it's in Woodruff Formation. There are signs of gold and the gold system, but not very strong. In fact, it's pretty darn weak. What you do see in the upper units, that's Woodruff Formation, which is a Devonian rock. We drilled the first hole and drilled in, and it been reported out for quite a while now. It was a scout hole to see, to look. And that hole was remarkable. We obviously drilled into what I would consider to be a very major gold bearing system with all the ingredients, the Carlin Trend ingredients, that the larger deposits and larger portions, better portions along the Carlin Trend for gold deposits was represented in some aspect with that hole, including gold. And it was basically, I wouldn't say a totally blind hole. We had a thought that, yeah, there is a plumbing system. The next thing was, you got to find that plumbing system. And in this case, we drilled a hole that, by the way, I'd recommended to be drilled in a report that I did many years ago. But that's an aside. We continued the program because we were absolutely encouraged based on what we saw. We saw all the necessary ingredients, everything that you see in the part of the plumbing systems, gold quarry, gold strike, and very pleasingly were the right units, the right host units. And those two primary units would be Rodeo Creek, which is in the case of both gold strike and gold quarry and many other deposits on the Carlin Trend, it is mineralized. But the even better unit is below Rodeo Creek, and that's Popovich Formation, which hosts much of the gold on the Carlin Trend and much of the best of the gold. So we were seeing all the ingredients come into play, and really, and most importantly, was the system itself.
Dave, real quick on that, could you just let us know? I actually forgot. I know it's over 20, but how many ounces are at gold quarry and gold strike? They're like 20, 25 million?
No, okay. Well, there's, I can throw out numbers that I know and believe, and there's some, in some aspect, a composite of more than one deposit, although gold quarry is basically one deposit, but there's Mac and Tusk off on the flank, which might be included in it. It's really about a 40 million ounce system, of which a large portion of that has been mined. Now, I leave open the door, however, that the deep sulfide feeder zone and maybe deep west go off and could be mined underground. They are not well defined, but this deposit keeps going in the form that could be mined underground with much better grades, of course. And that's in the process. So what has happened on the Carlin Trend is, yes, the pit's been mined. That's the big truck rock that I refer to it as, but really a lot of gold may be present in the form of the feeder zones, higher grade portions, and mined underground. And that's basically the deep post, for example, feeding gold strike. Gold strike is about a 70 million ounce deposit, composite wide. And maybe bigger. I mean, once these things, they tend to grow because you get access to be able to make them grow and find higher grade portions of it that kind of feed into that. You could argue that Meikle is part of the gold strike system, which it is. It's nearby, Deep Post or Deep Star and some of the others. So there's 100, 120 million ounces in the north area of the Carlin Trend. And
Dave, how about we talk about then our next steps, our
okay.
next series of drill holes.
Okay, well,
Before that, just to clarify, because I got a call, sorry, you were talking about 40 million at gold strike. That was gold strike, not gold quarry?
Gold quarry, 40, 50.
And gold strike is how much?
Gold strike, well, there's the broader picture, of course, the additional, the flanking deposits, there's 100 million.
Wow, they're both enormous.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand.
They're world-class. And people have said basically the gold strike system is the biggest gold system on the planet, and I would say it's probably that, and it's delivered an awful lot of good rock and some high grade deposits. Deep Star being the highest grade. That's the Newmont mine nearby underground, and it was a 1 ounce plus deposit. Okay, so there's a lot of gold. What we are seeing in the South Carlin area are much the same sort of features. that exist in those areas. And we have hit this, it's been relatively blind from the surface, not completely, but largely. We weren't able to really vector in or see where the sweet spots might be. So we decided on the basis of our knowledge that IP, induced polarization, it's an electrical method to identify the concentrations of pyrite, which often lead to the concentrations of gold. Pretty much it's a one-to-one or one-on-one basis. We ran IP and very systematically across what we think is the main suture zone. There were 6 lines proposed. We've completed 3. And these lines, the information has shown that the system is big, maybe bigger, or it could be substantially bigger than we might have imagined, because we didn't have this information. Now we do. So we can start seeing something about the size. And from north end to south end of the property, we are seeing this strong IP. The resistivity ties in, and this is work that similar to what's been done elsewhere in the Carlin Trend that has helped define and identify and discover a lot of the gold on the Carlin Trend. And we just happen to be applying it. Well, we're on the Carlin Trend, but in a place that has never been explored like we have.
It's the Carlin property. It would be very torturous if we had nothing on the Carlin property and the Carlin Trend. But I think the scope of this and now how you're coming into it with this additional data, just remind us the size of the actual property and who is around us.
So we have 3 square miles, 2 on the north-south trend, and to the north of us is the joint venture between Newmont and Barrick. And
Which one is that? What is that property though? What is that on the north?
Well, it's part of their whole network. Nevada Gold Mines is called the joint venture.
Right, but what is that particular mine or property, or like, it's not Gold Quarry, is it, that's up there?
No, Gold Quarry is about 13 miles to the northwest of us.
Right, like just like your company name's First Vanadium, you just told me your company name's, but Carlin is our project. Like, is there a name of that, or they just own the land and there's
They just own the land. They own thousands of square miles in
a lot of it's part of the former checkerboard, Santa Fe checkerboard. And of course, Newmont took over Santa Fe and got the checkerboard lands. And the intervening sections, it's every other section is private, and the intervening sections are public, that can be staked, properties that can be staked. But we clearly are at the forefront of something that looks to be like a new significant discovery. And I put it on the Carlin Trend, and it deserves to be on the Carlin Trend. In addition to being on the Carlin Trend, we're right on the hinge line location, which is very, very important. That hinge line, it's a continental margin hinge line, upper Paleozoic, and all the right transitional rocks that are the gold-bearing rocks. The best of the rocks are in the rocks below this Woodruff Formation, which is not so good as a rock unit, but the rocks below are just outstanding. And they're the same ones you see to the north at Gold Quarry and Gold Strike, and along the rest of the northern part of the Carlin Trend. They're mineralized, heavily mineralized there. We're seeing similarities in the system, every aspect of the system. The silicification, dolomization, the collapsed breccias, which they're hard to see in drill cuttings, but we know that they're there. We can see enough of the breccia formation in little pieces to know that the breccias are there. These are big breccia bodies. Looks like, and it boils down to now, where are the sweet spots? Where are the feeder zones? Where was the gold concentrated before it kind of spread out, ballooned out? Or I look at this as kind of like the shape of a mushroom. So you're looking for the stem of the mushroom largely. And we're seeing what looks to be, and it's pretty well established now with the IP, the head of the mushroom, the cap. And you can drill anywhere in that cap and get signs of the system, but what's important are where the gold has been concentrated by Mother Nature and put in sufficient quantities and concentrations to be economic. And the one thing that I think we can count on, I'm all right, there's no guarantees ever, but all these systems they're there because they have the plumbing system. Because of the feeder zones, they are there to originate them. They're established because of that. And that's where the high grade gold is in all these deposits. And that is now our chore, to zero into these concentrated gold portions of the system. We have a lot more information. We're now able to direct the holes, I think, in directions that will hopefully lead us to having the success for the discoveries.
Exciting. Paul, do you want to comment? And then also, like, if those are the proven comments on recent results in the update, from just the project side, if that's sufficient, great. And then maybe we could talk about your plans, like what's next.
Yeah, I think Dave wrapped up really, really nicely how excited he is about it and the magnitude of the opportunity. I'd just like to say that, yeah, we're very, very keen on getting back to site. I've already talked to secure a drill now for May, and we'll hold on to that drill as long as we possibly can. I think we got easily, and this is not rocket science, it's easy 4 holes that we can put in. And be able to, we'll be moving our samples a lot faster than what we did before. So we'll have results before, we'll be able to leapfrog in a way, drill 1 hole, get those samples in as fast as we can, speed them up, and we'll have the results by the start of the 3rd hole, so to speak. So we'll be able to make good field decisions to keep going. And I see that the IP, I know that the IP is only a half done. We know that IP is going to signal more strike length for testing. So I think we're aggressively going to go after this in 2021 here, and hold on to the rig as long as possible, and make that discovery, and then start building continuity along strike.
That's huge, and I just want to mention to the group that. And just bring this up for you too. I've heard a lot of companies over the years, even like Golden Triangle especially, which is very clogged up with assays and taking forever. And now we have that problem all over the place, certainly where you are, and they're taking months to get back. So we have the opportunity, and I had encouraged you with full support, being that we're very significant shareholders, and we'll continue to support you. Just pay the modest premium. But what I would say is I've heard companies that have done that and made the promises, and they still leave some loose ends with when those labs can get back to them. I would encourage you, put a pin in it and stand them up against the wall for absolute hard commitments so that you are the priority, because I still think they take longer sometimes as well. So if you're paying the premium, or even if it's pay an extra 5% of the 30, to get a commitment of 3 weeks or something, in 4 weeks, then versus maybe it'll take 5 or 6. So anyway, we are all on board with that, with the pace. There's enough information here to really go to the next level. What's got me so excited is these analogies to these monster deposits is, we don't have anything like this on the books. Maybe newfound gold, but that's a whole other story, and a different animal. But like this thing, and it's early, these are really interesting comps. So I want to find out, what we're going to get next. It's going to be very curious. And frankly, from the confidence that Dave has, being with his background here, and then also with Paul getting this information and learning about this spot, and feeling like, yeah, we've got a good shot at having something massive here. There is a massive system. We got to find it. I don't know. I'm betting. I'm making a bet. I have, this, all the information, and it's how I form a gut feeling as well, usually. And my instinct tells me, and I could be wrong, this thing's going to be huge. So we'll see. But we are supporting First Vanadium. And Paul, maybe you could just touch on like your you're gonna have to get into super specifics, but how much is in the bank, and then will you be doing some level of financing in the fairly near future?
Yeah, we got about 300,000 in the kitty. So for us to go after this anomaly and that we see well deserves it, yeah, we'll be needing to do a financing. And we, yeah, for sure. And the other thing too, not to muddy the waters, but from the vanadium side, vanadium prices are going up, and particularly in the last month, our vanadium deposit in situ value has added $400 million to us.
Where has it gone? I haven't checked it in a bit. Where is it?
Yeah, it's $8.10.
Oh man, I knew it, and this is huge.
Yeah. So we're just waiting on that vanadium. It's continuing to go up. There's more and more vanadium batteries that are starting to be deployed, and factories being built in China. I saw an article today about that too. So, the gold is a fantastic opportunity for value added. The vanadium one is sitting there already quantified, and we're just waiting for the prices to come back up. So you've got a double opportunity here.
Yeah, and that's why I had such confidence in kind of going sort of and being willing to continue to go all in, is that say we don't find what we're hoping for, or it's a smaller variation or whatever, we have the backstop, which is the vanadium asset that will end up materializing as something of value at some point. It's been a long lull for vanadium, and I think it's ready again to make a move. And also, maybe you can comment very briefly, Dave and Paul, on the AVP acquisition. And if I believe you're gonna plan to drill that fairly soon. Maybe you can give a little color, Dave, on why you had acquired that and your thoughts, and then Paul, just some thoughts on that, because I think that's very exciting, and that's also a gold target. So, and maybe you can answer this one first. We haven't even talked about this really, but we might be due for some level of like a name change instead of just vanadium again, like going into, I don't know, but like resources or some other name, because it's not just a vanadium play, and we have 2 gold projects now, and one of them might be a killer. So if we start seeing more, traction there, and we're primarily a gold company, we may want to look at that, right? What do you think?
Yeah. David, I'll let you speak on the AVP, on its technical merits and why you were so interested in staking it.
Well, sure. The AVP I looked at quite a long time ago. It was probably in 1984, 85. At that time, Kennecott was drilling this as a prospect, and they drilled just a few scattered, very scattered, in places where there was cover, so it was a blind target. They based their drilling, as I heard reported, on IP, and they didn't the use of application of IP. They did not hit what they thought was something of significance. But in evaluating the data, and I did with the property owner who I came to know, and I recommended that Atlas acquire the property back in the mid 1980s. And we were so preoccupied, gold bar and all the rest of the deposits kind of fell through the cracks. And quite a few years ago now, I noticed that the property had become open during a lull, like it often has happened in the gold exploration mining business. There's a lull because of low gold prices. And I saw the property became open, and I jumped on it and staked it myself in my own personal company's name, but basically that's me. And what it represents is it's in an area, it's on the southern portion of the Cortez or Battle Mountain Eureka Trend, in some good rocks. They are Ordovician in age, good limestones, and the information, and I have some of the assay information that I got through the property owner, the original property owner, and that Kennecott had on the drilling. And it was a pretty darn interesting. Their holes were all shallow. Some of them stopped in gold. They were scattered over about a square mile, and they drilled a total of 10 holes. A couple of them were right next to each other. So very, very few holes through the gravels. Well, that was before a lot of the additional tools that have been now so effective in working these covered or pediment areas or range margin areas, such as particularly gravity and also ground magnetics have come into use. And that's we're going to launch a gravity and ground magnetic survey. But the whole information alone suggests there's something pretty significant going on in good rocks. There is a nearby tertiary intrusive, and I always look for the right age of these systems. It's clearly an early tertiary system, like all the best of the gold systems in Nevada. And so it's in a very, very intriguing target opportunity. I staked a portion back then. It's still intact. Now in the possession of First Vanadium, about 2 miles long, strike length north-south, and about mile wide zone that I thought covered pretty much what I construed of at the time and do right now, the sweet spot. So very, very intriguing. We're anxious to get to drilling it. It's again a blind target, but pretty much all the Kennecott holes, when they hit bedrock, they got into some gold. And back then, the price of gold was in the range of $300, $400 an ounce. Now it's obviously quite a bit better. And so this is a shallow, presumably oxide, and that's, I think Kennecott were thinking in terms of sulfide. That's why they did the IP, but there's no signs of sulfide. It may be there in deeper strata below the oxide, but so much the better. This may be a sizable system. We may be seeing now what we know is just a very, very small piece of it. And basically a very, very intriguing opportunity.
Awesome. Paul, any closing comments? Because I think we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, on the AVP. So our plan is to do a first round of drilling on AVP in the summertime as a tag on to our Carlin drilling. And after we've done the gravity and magnetics, and then we'll go from there. We'll get the assays back and we can come back to it with further, as long as we hold on to that drill, we can come back and do further holes. And so we're keen on that one too. I love, properties that Dave loves, I love, as you know, Eric, and I'm sure you agree. Yeah. We also have a copper project in Arizona that looks outstanding that we're going to be dusting off too in a small scale, investing a $25,000 gravity survey on that to get that drill ready as well. So and that's right beside a 30 million ton fast producing mine that's 4.4% copper. It's a granddaddy massive sulfide in a copper camp. So that's another one that's been sitting on the books for a long time. Now that copper's up, we're going to be dusting it off and having a look at that too. Nice.
That would mean that we're three resource or three target company versus commodity versus just the vanadium. So we're probably going to have to look at a name like First Resources or some variation.
That's right. Or we could spin out any of these things into a third company too.
True. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Very exciting update, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to distribute this to all of our shareholders and people that are very involved in waiting on it. I'm sure they'll be very, very excited as I am. And we'll stay in touch and look forward to seeing the next steps as they roll out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Have a good day now.